Welcome back. Steve on Your Side has learned lawmakers are considering changing state law to allow local towns and cities to use speed cameras on interstate highways.
The bill was introduced at the legislature this week. 9 News consumer investigator Steve Steger learned this stems from Wheat Ridge's desire to put photo radar on their portion of I-70. That's unique. He is joining us live on that stretch of interstate right now. This would be a big change, Steve.
It would be a huge change, Kim, because currently state law only allows these cameras on city roads, on county roads, and on some state highways if towns want to use them. Wheat Ridge, we learned, actually went to the state last year and requested permission to put one of these on I-70, but they were denied because the state says it's against the law. Now a state lawmaker is trying to change that law.
A lot of traffic makes its way along this stretch of I-70 each day between Wadsworth on the east and 32nd on the west, the stretch of the interstate that runs through the city of Wheat Ridge.
When we deal with a crash out there, we're handling the whole investigation and everything, and it's really a resource drain on our department.
Alex Rose speaks for the Wheat Ridge Police Department, who last summer asked the state for permission to put a photo radar camera on this stretch of I-70.
And we truly believe that this is a tool and a piece of technology we can leverage to change people's behavior, to make our highways more safe, and ultimately to put less of a burden on our police department.
But the state turned Wheat Ridge down back then. We got the denial that says the state law allowing the use of automated cameras to issue tickets to the registered owners of vehicles caught speeding doesn't allow cities, towns, or counties to put the cameras on federal highways. But Steve on Your Side has learned Wheat Ridge is pushing to change that law. House Bill 26-1071 was introduced this week doing just that. Rose says if passed, it would allow the city to put cameras on this stretch that's seen a horrific crash history, including several high-profile fatal crashes in the last few years alone. Wheat Ridge is already using photo radar in 2 different places in the city.
And we have one that's outside of the high school, right? And so when you look at the first month of us issuing tickets there so that was June of last year to December, we issued 60% fewer citations. We are changing the behavior.
But the city's also made about $208,000 since those cameras on city roads went up last summer. Revenue that would arguably explode with a camera on an interstate.
The amount of revenue the city could make on something like this would be exponentially higher than the 2 cameras you have out there right now.
Right.
Is it a revenue generator?
I think that it is. I think the other way that you can look at it, honestly, is how much revenue is there, how much money are the taxpayers of Wheat Ridge spending on all of the man hours of investigation for these serious crashes out on the highway.
For reference, about 135,000 vehicles make their way on I-70 through this stretch every day, according to CDOT data. Now, if this change in law happens, all the same rules of speed cameras would apply. You would have to have a warning period. There would have to be signage that shows that you're going into an area that has speed cameras, and those fines would be capped at $40 unless they're in construction or school zones where the fine goes up to $80. Speaking of capped fines, we checked in with the town of Kersey today. You might remember they've had some issues with capped fines there in their photo radar cameras. Remember, they were charging some drivers $340 in photo radar tickets, but after our reporting on that, they stopped and just a couple of weeks ago voted to refund all of the $340 tickets that have already been paid. We checked in with them today, learned that they plan on posting a form on their website this coming Tuesday afternoon where people can go and request a refund. Our review of records, by the way, shows that this town of Kersey could be paying back as much as $586,000 to the people who have already paid those $340 tickets. So we'll keep an eye on the town of Kersey's website to see when people can finally get their money back. We're live in Wheat Ridge right now. Steve Steger, Steve on Your Side, 9 News.
It's poignant you point out the Kersey situation that you've been following for weeks, if not months, because a lot of people think these cameras are just about money. But in a situation like this, they're actually making the argument that perhaps it could save lives.
And they're making the same argument, Phil, in Kersey, that the thought is what the meaning behind this law, the reason to use a photo radar camera is to change people's behavior, to get them to slow down. right? You send them a ticket, they know I'm not going to do that again. And Wheat Ridge says that they've already seen that work in other places, but their experiment is about to get a lot bigger if they're able to put a photo radar camera on I-70. And it'll be interesting to see if Wheat Ridge does this, if the other communities that are along highways will do the same.
Yep, I can think of it right now. Highway 58, getting onto I-70 where the beer truck crashed today. Right. Steve, I'll tell you what, you are now, Steve, on your side of photo radar. Thank you so much.
Certainly done a lot of stories.